Today, most people dream of owning a home. Ancient humans dreamed of finding their next safe place to sleep. For ancient families, staying in one place for too long could become a dangerous mistake. Their world was always changing, and survival meant being ready to move. Unlike us, they couldn't simply build a house and stay there forever. Everything they owned had to be light enough to carry. The tribe traveled together because surviving alone was almost impossible. Some days, they walked for hours before finding a safe place to rest. A cave, a rocky cliff, or even a few large trees could become home for the night. They never knew where tomorrow's shelter would be. Home was never a building. Home was wherever the family stayed together. For thousands of families, this way of life continued generation after generation. But one question remained. Why didn't they simply build a house and stay? Ancient humans didn't stay in one place because the food never stayed in one place. The animals they hunted were always searching for fresh grass and clean water. If the hunters stayed behind, the food would disappear beyond the horizon. So the entire tribe packed their belongings and followed the animals. Finding food always came before building a home. Without the herds, the tribe could quickly run out of food. Rivers also changed with the seasons, forcing families to keep moving. Even fruit, berries, and edible plants grew in different places throughout the year. Nature decided where people lived far more than people did. Some camps lasted only a few nights before the journey began again. For ancient humans, movement wasn't a choice. It was survival. As long as the food kept moving, their home had to keep moving too. Without houses, ancient families carried everything they needed wherever they went. They learned to keep only what they could easily carry. Heavy possessions only made every journey harder. Every family became skilled at packing within minutes. Even the youngest children learned to carry small supplies. The babies traveled safely in their parents' arms or wrapped against their bodies. Nothing was wasted because replacing it was never easy. Stone tools often lasted for many years with careful care. Everything they owned had a purpose. Their greatest treasure wasn't something they carried. It was the knowledge they shared. The lighter they traveled, the better their chances of survival. For ancient humans, their real home was never something they built. It was something they carried in every journey together. Without houses, nature became the greatest shelter ancient humans ever had. A deep cave could protect an entire family from wind, rain, and snow. When caves weren't nearby, rocky cliffs became the next best shelter. Sometimes, giant trees protected them from the burning sun. Animal hides helped turn open spaces into temporary homes. These simple shelters could be built in just a few hours. When it was time to leave, they packed everything and moved on again. Nature always provided another place to rest. Every new shelter brought new challenges and new opportunities. They learned to read the land before choosing where to sleep. Choosing the right shelter could mean the difference between safety and danger. Ancient humans didn't need walls to feel at home because the entire wilderness became their shelter. Building a house took time that ancient humans simply couldn't afford. By the time a house was finished, the food nearby could already be gone. Staying too long in one place could quickly lead to hunger. Fresh water didn't always remain in the same place either. Building a heavy home would only make leaving more difficult. Ancient humans valued freedom more than permanent walls. Moving quickly often kept them one step ahead of danger. Wild animals also forced families to keep changing locations. Even changing weather could force an entire tribe to move overnight. Their greatest strength wasn't building homes. It was adapting to every new place they discovered. The wilderness rewarded those who knew when it was time to leave. For ancient humans, survival was never about building a stronger house. It was about knowing when to move. Although ancient humans didn't build permanent houses, they still created simple shelters whenever they needed them. These shelters were built quickly using materials found nearby. Strong wooden poles formed the frame of their temporary homes. Large animal hides protected the family from cold winds and rain. Inside, the shelter was warm, simple, and safe. When winter became too harsh, caves were still their favorite shelter. Some tribes even used mammoth bones to strengthen their shelters. These shelters protected families without slowing their journey. The next morning, everything could be packed within a short time. Nothing they built was meant to last forever. Their shelters served one purpose: to help the family survive another day. These simple shelters became the first step toward the homes humans would eventually build thousands of years later. Everything changed when some ancient humans made one remarkable discovery. They realized seeds could grow into food if they stayed in the same place. For the first time, food no longer had to be chased across the wilderness. Staying in one place suddenly became possible. Families began returning to the same place season after season. Temporary shelters slowly became stronger and more permanent. People started building homes that could last for many years. Soon, one family became many families living side by side. Small villages became the beginning of a completely new way of life. Building houses allowed people to collect more food and own more tools. The world was changing, and human life would never be the same again. The first permanent houses marked the beginning of civilization itself. Today, almost every family lives inside a house, but that wasn't always the way humans lived. Long before cities existed, the entire world was humanity's home. They didn't need permanent houses because nature gave them everything they needed to survive. When life changed, human homes changed with it. The first simple houses became the beginning of towns and villages. Those villages eventually grew into the cities we know today. Every modern home carries the story of humanity's long journey. Our ancestors didn't fail to build houses. They built the right shelters for their time. Their ability to adapt became one of humanity's greatest strengths. Without that remarkable journey, civilization might never have existed. Every brick, every wall, and every roof tells a story that began thousands of years ago. That is why ancient humans never built permanent houses, because surviving came first, and home was wherever their family could safely begin another tomorrow.